5:45. We're at the gym. Focus! Come on. Come on. Come on.
What's up, guys? It's Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about what I think Hugh Jackman took to prepare for Wolverine in the 2014 Days of Future Past X-Men movie in particular, because that's the one where he blatantly looks the most cranked out of his mind. So what did he take for this role? How does it compare to his other roles as Wolverine? Just what is his physique even naturally capable of sustaining with his own endogenous androgen production? I'm just going to delve into that with you guys and kind of outline what I think it took to achieve this physique in particular, where he just, blatantly looks sauced out of his mind. Going back to the first appearance of Wolverine in the 2000 movie X-Men, you can see here what Hugh Jackman is actually capable of sustaining naturally with his own natural testosterone production. And this is a much younger version of himself. So if anything, he should be more muscular here than in his more recent movie roles, if this was based on, natural hormone production, which clearly it is not. If this was based on what he could do naturally, his physique would regress as the years went on, or stay the same at most. It wouldn't get significantly better as the years progress. Obviously, that's assuming that, I doubt his training was zero for this role. There's no way he wasn't at least trying to get in shape for this role here, so you can't just attribute a 15 to pound lean gain over a short span of time to not just natural training and diet alone, because it's just not possible based on the physique he maintains between these movie roles as well. He only gets, muscular and built up for the roles, and then in between them he looks like nothing. So as you can see here, like I mentioned, nothing really impressive and definitely natural still at this point. And this is kind of the baseline reference for what I think his physique is capable of achieving. This is also his youngest appearance. So from this point on, it gets pretty obvious where super physiological enhancement started to take place. And we move forward to 2003, the movie X2. Wolverine is in this movie as well, and looks a bit better than in the first Wolverine. Now, you could still attribute this, I believe, this physique in particular, to natural diet and training just over the course of, a few years of really, realizing he has this role now as a more muscular character where he has to maintain or build on this physique. And I believe this is achievable naturally. Like, don't get me wrong, this is nothing that is out of the realm of, natural support of what you could do normally. So he is 35 years old in this movie here, and he's not shirtless, so it's kind of hard to see exactly what his physique looks like, but it doesn't look significantly more impressive than in the first role. And seeing as this is, a popular movie series, I'm sure he was in the mindset that he had to, really work on building on his first physique to maintain this persona or maintain this role and really live up to the hype on it, because Wolverine is a jacked character. Obviously, any superhero is going to be jacked, and the bigger and leaner you can get, the better. So here is definitely built on the first physique, but I still think he is probably, I'm starting to see a bit of cap delts, a bit of the veins popping out there. Obviously, it's still an achievable physique naturally. Whether he did it naturally, I'd say he's right on the borderline here. Keep in mind, he's 35. He's only getting older at this point, and natural testosterone production is regressing by the year. I'm not saying a 35-year-old can't achieve this. By no means. Lots can, but in particular, Hugh Jackman doesn't have good muscle building genetics, in my opinion. His physique normally, when he is not preparing for these roles, is absolutely, nothing you would even look twice at. And even in these roles, like, it's not overly impressive what he looks like, in my opinion. So moving forward to 2006. So this is another 3 years later in X-Men Last Stand. You can see what he looks like here. Not much different, in my opinion, than the 2003 role. And this is probably one of the only clips in the movie that's even worth evaluating his physique in, because he just, doesn't have a significant part of the movie where he's shirtless or anything we can really evaluate as a reference point in comparison to the first role. So just looking at him based on, he's just, running around in a beater, and he's not small. He's not big though by any means, and it doesn't look like he's really built on his physique. I think it's still plausible that he's natural here for sure. And, lots of guys could achieve this naturally, regardless of the fact that he's 38. He still has more than enough gas in the tank to look like this naturally, and I think it's definitely possible he was still natural here. With that being said, if you're in Hollywood, what's the chances you're going to, and you're playing a superhero, what is the probability that you're going to try and do this naturally when you're already at an age where hormone replacement therapy is probably on the table for an average Joe, let alone somebody who's literally trying to play a role where you're supposed to be as jacked and cut as humanly possible. So despite the fact that his physique looks natural, I would say it's right on the borderline if he's probably on TRT at this point. If not in the second one as well. I think the only one he was 100% natural for sure could possibly be just the first appearance of him in Wolverine. And after this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he did sauce it up a bit for this role. But with that being said, doesn't mean this physique can't be achievable naturally. Like I said, just a few years of training, you could easily look like this as a natural with half decent genetics. Moving forward into 2009, so he's 41 years old here, and this is the first time Hugh really showed that really evident androgenic look that had people starting to question whether this guy was natural or not. And you have to keep in mind, when you're 41 years old, I'm not going to say you can't maintain or achieve this physique naturally. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, as a natural, you're going to peak within probably 3 to 5 years of perfect diet and training. It's going to be closer to 3 years if you had perfect diet and training for the entirety of that time, in my opinion, with very negligible gains at that point thereafter for each consecutive year. So for Hugh, he's known since 2000 that he's playing roles as a Wolverine where he has to be as jacked and shredded as humanly possible, and he's getting into his 40s now. He's aware of the fact that his body is less capable of packing on muscle than it's ever been, and it's just going to deteriorate more and more by the year. You would obviously be on some sort of strict diet and training regimen to prepare for these upcoming roles. You're supposed to be representing the character as best as you can, and here he's just definitely a lot more muscular and lean than he has been in any role since. This is 9 years after the original movie where he was 32 years old, and he's 41 here, so there is almost no doubt in my mind that he's enhanced at this point, and at minimum on TRT, but likely on something super physiological. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he pushed his TRT above baseline in order to look like this for this role. In fact, I think he looks so much different in this role in particular that I wouldn't be surprised if he added in another compound at this point. I don't think he has very good muscle building genetics. He doesn't have good inserts. He doesn't really have a good frame for bodybuilding at all. And getting into his 40s, seeing what I have seen his physique is capable of holding naturally back in his early 30s when he would have been at his peak for natural muscle building potential, I think it's pretty obvious that he at minimum is on TRT here and probably on another compound entirely, perhaps just a super physiological dose of testosterone. Moving forward to 2013, we can see in the Wolverine, so he's 4 years older here, and his physique basically looks the same in my opinion. He's not leaner, he's certainly not bigger, but just the fact that he's able to sustain even the same physique at 4 years older in his mid 40s, like he's 45 years old here comparing to 41 in the previous role that I just showed you guys. And the fact that he's able to sustain this physique at all even further solidifies the fact that he's relying on exogenous anabolic support. If we get into the clinical data, we can see that after endogenous androgen secretion peaks in a man's youth, those levels plateau and then start to decline fairly quickly year after year. And a lot of people think that it's only 1% per year, but in actuality, total testosterone levels fall by 0.8% to 1.6% on average per year. And free testosterone levels, the levels that actually matter and are bioavailable to tissues to actually use for muscle support, like the total testosterone is just the total amount in your body, the actual bioavailable, usable, free testosterone that can be transcribed their effects in tissues, that falls by 2 to 3% on average per year after you peak and plateau. So you can imagine, in addition to that, SHBG levels also increase by 1.6% on average per year, which just exacerbates the problem. And total testosterone secretion dropping will decrease the amount of bioavailable free testosterone for the body to use. And the concurrent increase in SHBG binds up even more of the testosterone in the body, further dropping the amount of bioavailable free testosterone in the body. So it's just a vicious circle. And as you get into your 40s, you're certainly experiencing this on a consecutive basis every year and expecting to maintain the exact same physique year after year after year just based on your continually declining endogenous androgen production is a pipe dream. It's just not going to happen, especially when you're trying to peak for a movie role like this and look like Hugh Jackman. There's no way you're going to sustain this physique with that kind of, biological process. That's just what happens to your body as you get older, unfortunately. And looking in the movie, like, his physique hasn't taken a hit at all, in my opinion. He's just as lean, just as muscular. If anything, some might argue that he looks better in the last role. Like, the last role is a bit deceiving because they basically just showed him flexing and then jumping out of a window or something. But here we get a bit of a better look at what he actually looks like. And 4 years later, with, maybe 10% less endogenous androgen production or bioavailable free testosterone for tissues, you would expect him to lose muscle, and he blatantly has not. Now, moving forward to 2014 X-Men Days of Future Past, this is where Hugh's physique reached the pinnacle of any body composition he had achieved previously. So keep in mind, comparing Hugh's physique from the first appearance in 2000, 14 years later, he looks significantly more muscular and lean and dry too. It's not just like this guy has gained muscle and lost some fat. He has a very androgenic look about him. His traps are a lot more popping. He has more cap delts. He has kind of like the flagship trend look, in my opinion, and this is like exactly how guys I see who basically abuse trend look, who have poor bodybuilding genetics. I know that sounds weird, but it's like guys who just have like very poor muscle inserts and get destroyed when they step on stage, but they just keep saucing their minds out with trend, and they get this very androgenic like cap delt look with good delts and traps, but then the rest of the physique kind of lags behind. And that's almost what Hugh shows, in my opinion, in these images, just really lacking arm development. And the physique is significantly better than he was younger, of course. Like, he looks great objectively. I'm just talking about from a bodybuilder context, because obviously a lot of guys who watch my channel would look at this physique and think, oh, it's not that good. But, for an average Joe, this physique is, very, very, very elite and crazy. But just in a general sense and objectively looking at the comparison, that's what I gather when I look at his physique, and that's just the first thing that comes to mind, to be honest. But again, he's 14 years older, comparing the original images of him when he was starting as Wolverine compared to now. And one thing to keep in mind is when you look at the images of him, it's obviously the filming date. I haven't gone to look up when these movies were filmed exactly, so my ages might be a bit off, but just based on simple math, I am going with, and what I saw, just by briefly looking it up, is he was 46 years old at the time of the 2014 role where he peaked, but obviously that could be off by 1 to 2 years or something like that based on when this was filmed, as well as, the first role where he, could have been in his late, 29 or 30, as opposed to what I originally thought was 32 years old based on the release date of the movie. But again, that could be wrong, but at the end of the day, it's a very, small factor in terms of, my actual determination here in this video. It doesn't actually really impact anything. Just for the sake of transparency, I'm not 100% sure exactly how old he is in these roles during the time of filming, but with that being said, the same things I am saying will still apply regardless. Now, obviously, we can see him in this role, and the look about him, like I mentioned, just very trend-like, and I wouldn't hesitate to assume that he probably did hop on something. If it wasn't trend, it was something very androgenic. And while Trenbolone milligram for milligram is actually far more tissue selective than testosterone, isn't inherently more androgenic itself, the dosage people are using is so high that it's significantly more androgenic than other, androgens people are using at formidable dosages. So milligram for milligram, while it's more tissue selective, the dosages people are using of Trenbolone, it's going to be significantly more androgenic than other alternatives, of course. So looking at it, without getting too off topic with the science here, again, we look at this physique, and this is obviously where his physique peaked in the entire series. Every single movie, this was the pinnacle of everything he has ever trained for, and his physique has never looked better than this. It's never looked leaner, it's never looked more muscular, and here the blatant androgenicity his body composition is showing, to me, is flagship trend use, just, based on what I've seen, local shows and regional shows with guys who trend, abuse trend out of their minds. To me, this looks like trend use. I'm not going to get too much deeper than that. Obviously this look could be achieved with other compounds. I just think based on what his physique looks like, naturally, you go back and look at him where he had peak natural hormone production in, his early 30s for his first appearance as Wolverine, and he just looked like nothing, and now he looks like veiny, cap delts, traps are popping, everything is just very flagship trend-like, and I think he was probably using a test base here with some Trenbolone, perhaps. The dosages were probably, it's tough to say, it depends. It could have been, just a TRT dose with a bit of trend on top of it. Who really knows for sure? I just think those were the compounds of choice to achieve this look here in particular. Might have been Masteron, it might have been Winstrol, it might have been something else dry, but my best guess is Tren based on the androgen receptor density in the traps and the delts and just the appearance that his physique has taken on relative to what he is capable of achieving naturally. So anyways, take from that what you will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Even if you have like no, elaborate input on what you think he did or didn't do, comments still help the algorithm, so it's very much appreciated when you guys do that. If you can like the video too, that helps a lot. Don't forget to subscribe. Also hit the notification bell to get notified when I post. Apparently there's a very small percentage of people that are subscribed that actually hit the notification bell, so I might not even show up in your sub box if you don't press it. So please do that. Even if you're already subscribed, go hit it if you haven't. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, at moreplates_more_dates. Follow me there. I post a lot more elaborate detail on the blog as well as on the Instagram. I get into a bit more details that are not seen on the YouTube videos. So if you guys follow me there, you can get a bit more insight into my thought process and some of the clinical data backing some of my claims. So thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.